access for the car to get to our backyard. So putting anything behind our house is not an option.
Just, I believe it just started broadcast.
All right.
Oh.
Maybe that's the good part.
Yeah, we did,
No, but people just watching, I'm sorry, you just got it started. There are 2 people watching. I guess, oh, now down to 1, which is just me. So, speed on. No, but it will be, the important thing is having it available for folks. I'm glad we're testing it now. But yeah, then you got support from the immediate neighbors. Does anyone have any questions about the project?
I do. I don't see any elevations. We like to see elevations of, I see the footprint on the paper. We like to see it this way. Have you had that drawn, or are you planning on it? I don't know how high this garage is.
Okay, I thought the site, when you look on the site, you'll notice that the height, the elevation's there. It's showing, it's depicting the 2 feet as it's.
I think when we say elevations, we're talking architecture.
But
Okay.
Those are not required.
Not required, but it's helpful, especially this is a little bit complicated, I think.
Yeah.
It's not as simple, here's the house and da-da-da-da-da, like a kid could draw. This is gonna be a little bit more complicated. So I'm interested in that, also interested in how high the garage is at the finish.
Yeah, so we don't have any actual drawings,
Uh-huh.
but if you could visualize reducing the space where the driveway is now, which is probably 6 or 7 feet, with a little bit, leaving a little bit more grade, and then it has to match. So 8 feet there, and then the current height of the garage, which is probably 8 more feet. But the front of it, we do not plan to make it look like a garage that's 16 feet high. That the door will be a normal garage, but the space above the garage and before you get to the second part of the structure will be like visual, or will be hidden and will be more for storage area. Does that make sense?
It makes some sense, I still don't know how high we're talking about.
Yeah, for the structure that will now be a 0-foot setback from the right-of-way line of the street, what is the height of that structure going to be
I'm
at
thinking
that
of
right-of-way
looking
line?
down the street, what am I seeing up as I look down this?
How tall is our current house?
I don't know.
So it's 8 feet plus our current height.
Would your intent be any new structure that's added in the area of the existing driveway, that roof line would match the roof line of the
Correct.
existing
It'll
house?
match the same roof line.
Correct.
So that would be
It's just,
push it out.
it's just a mod, yeah, it's just
To the end of the driveway.
to the.
Correct.
To the right of line.
To the
To
right.
the right line,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
right
get
line.
it.
I think it's checked. It's roughly that's where the stairs end.
That's correct, that's exactly what it
Or
first.
the railing ends.
Where
There's
the
some
railing ends,
couple
right.
more
I
steps.
see it. Yeah, that's what I thought, but that's why we asked
Yes.
for the different kinds.
Mhm.
It's not, we don't require them, but in this case, I think it might be helpful if you went to the commission, to have something like that,
Mhm.
just to make it a little clearer. Let's see. I'm interested in the ravine part. Has any of the ravine people been involved in? I know we have a lot of people in the neighborhood that are interested in ravine protection. And I'm interested in this, if this has been reviewed by them, Stephen, do we know anything?
No, there wouldn't be. I don't know of any Overbrook Ravine Association.
I thought all the ravines were sort of,
Maybe they did have.
no, they're not.
But there's,
Okay.
it's an unofficial group. There are no official ravine groups.
Hmm.
They're just unofficial neighborhood groups.
So we don't really know, how can we know that the ravine structure is going to be protected when you do this?
I would say 2 things. One is that the structure will be replaced by, what's currently there is asphalt, which will be replaced by a structure. And nothing to the left or the right of it has trees. It's much
Well, I'm
away.
thinking of.
But the land, I think that's something we're gonna work with the contractors about, and that they will have to provide a proposal as to what they're going to do with like the underwater sewage, making sure that's captured before it goes into the water. So those are the types of.
But how
things
would we know that before we vote on this?
Yeah, you,
I'm not entirely sure, I mean,
there is something in this storm, you have to, your architect might have to create a storm sewer. So, I'm Judy Minister
Oh.
Realty, I don't know if you remember, but I
yeah,
own
you
a
sold
house.
us the
listed-
house.
You know
Yeah.
exactly.
Right, I was a listing agent when they bought it 5 years ago. It's a very unusual house. There are no windows really on the front of the house. Everything's oriented to the side, and it is a super long, narrow lot. I think, I remember the previous owner, who had a music hobby, I think he used the garage for his like music studio. So going forward kind of makes sense because you could create a view and some windows in the front of the house. And I don't know if that's part of your plan, because now all the windows are just on the side and the back. So, but, yeah, so I could see how it would make sense. But it is very, it's situated very uniquely in the house. It's kind of a, not a mid-century modern, but, kind of a soft contemporary.
I walk by there all the time, I'm
Yeah.
very familiar with the house. I'm just thinking as I walk down the street and I'm just seeing woods, so all of a sudden, there will be this not woods. Does that, as your sight line, I guess that's what I'm talking about, sight line, for the street. And that's what would go away, basically.
Well, our house is already on the sideline. It's like right there,
But this would be obviously,
more so.
And one thing that City of Columbus will ask you about, if they haven't already, is, like when we do a corner building in a commercial district, they'll talk about opacity. And so that's where all your windows, and it would be really helpful if you have blinds would come in. So they may be more favorable if you have a lot of opacity, as far as.
like if you wanted to enclose a porch on the front of a house, a normal, like on a street like this, because of that sightline requirement, you would have to have a certain percent, and I forgot what it is,
Yes.
75% or something less, so that your neighbors can still see up the street. That's what I'm thinking about here, would be gone apparently, I don't know, because I can't.
Well, there are
see
site
that.
triangle rules that the city, they're not asking for variances from site.
I understand that, I'm just saying that's one of my problems.
And I did talk to the city, forgot her name, Christine,
Yes.
about sightlines.
Right.
She said that would, she
Crossed it out,
crossed it out.
because the original person gave us 3 variances.
Uh-huh.
She reviewed it, crossed those 2 out, adjusted the line to the street.
Thank you.
Do you know how far back your house currently sits from the right of way?
25 feet.
It's currently 25 feet.
Or no, it's 20 feet. It's 20 feet, 20.06 from the right of way line.
Is this, but the setback requirement is 25 feet?
That's correct.
So it's already.
That's correct.
That's, yeah.
So the setback from line is 25 feet where your house currently sits. And you want to build a garage that goes up to.
Zero.
Right, and then the garage is gonna be multi-story to match the side of the house, so this is more like an addition with the garage underneath.
Correct. Correct. And to your point, Ian, the top part would be all glass, and the bottom part of the garage would just be enclosed with the garage door.
That's why the elevation would be a good plan for you.
We've done a lot of like 0 lot lines, but that's always been to the side of the house. I don't know if we've ever granted variance to go beyond the setback line.
I think 2 months ago.
Really?
The garage at the point of Montrose and Torrance was already, it was like a 2-story garage, and it was already not in the setback.
Henderson wasn't, Henderson allowed parking.
It was kind of a point to the,
Parking
yeah.
is a setback, not structure is a setback.
had a lot of furniture, it was rained a lot. But, yeah, go back and look at that one.
Which, you remember?
So, yeah, it was not the last meeting, the meeting before, when we had 3 garages in one.
Yeah, I remember the three
And the
garage.
last garage
Right,
was,
forget that.
on West Torrance and Montrose, and if you got a huge amount of.
Yeah,
frontage.
44 West Torrance?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so that had some kind of setback issue, and it might have already been encroaching. what
To
was
decrease
there.
side yard from 3 feet to 1 foot.
That's
Which,
such,
which month was that, Diane?
44 West, I'm looking Torrance, I'm sorry, not
It
Torrance.
was Torrance.
It was Torrance, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
44 West Torrance, we did it in July. It was our July meeting. And from 3 feet to 1 foot side yard
side yard, but
to
no,
maintain building line of original garage. So the garage was already sitting there.
right, that's good.
Yeah,
The
it
existing
says
garage
something
already
like
goes
it was
over
a
the property line.
kind of like a, you know, front yard. It was a lot with a big triangle lot,
And they needed to build above the grade. They
and
had one
they
of
also
those.
had a 2-story garage.
Yeah, I think here, part of what they're trying to do is decrease the grade so that if they don't, if you put the garage where it currently is, they'd have to dig back even farther. They have to excavate more, because they'd have to pull the existing, are you gonna pull the existing garage down, under that space down? No, so you're gonna leave that, so you're not gonna dig down from where the existing garage is. You're basically putting a new garage in front of
You're going
it.
to asphalt.
So what it does is it says, I think it's, they don't have to excavate all the way underneath the current place.
But the new garage you're gonna build would be at a lower level than this one, right?
Much lower.
So you're gonna have to put some type of, retaining wall or foundation wall down from the existing face of the house to go straight down to where the new, garage is going to come in.
Yeah, the whole house is reinforced with, pylons,
Yeah, there's pylons,
including the front.
18 pylons, sort of on the hillside.
Is there a sidewalk at all in front of the
No,
house? So you're talking about building the house out to the street line,
Right.
Not physically.
right,
No.
right.
About 8 feet, I think it's supposed to be 8 feet.
You're still back from the
I was
existing
trying
edge
to
of the street.
tell
by
10
from
by 10
this-
feet.
By 10 foot, you're back about 10 foot from the existing street line.
I believe it was 30 or 36, I could have my numbers wrong, but I had it measured, I have it in the document, but it's set back. There's a,
It's
yeah, 8
30,
feet.
36 on the drawing indicated there.
Okay, so that would be 26
So,
plus
so
10.
20, so.
I do think here, there's certainly unique lot conditions that exist that make building another building is problematic. Unlike many things you've seen here, there's certainly unique lot conditions that generate hardship.
The city keeps, they said the training we just went to kept saying, think about the variance they're requesting, other, going beyond that. Such, and I think here they might say, they're not asking for height variance. They're asking for a height variance.
Right, but I think, having the height, like, when you're bringing a building all the way out to 0 line setback, I think the height doesn't need to be considered.
In fact, it will, have an impact. And so if you're just talking to contractors, I mean, you haven't even talked to contractors yet, but you'll need to get yourself an architect or a design professional that's going to make sure that you're taking into consideration other things, because when you go down that 8 feet and then you want to align the roof line, then all of a sudden, the whole house is 8 feet taller and maybe beyond the height that you can get, so the whole thing may actually drop down. So, I didn't, see clearly where that was, stated as part of the request for the variance, or even if it's acknowledged as a component that's needed.
Yeah, I didn't look at, all right, I didn't put that in there because I thought it was 35 feet was the height there, so, I didn't believe it was gonna be over 35 feet from where we're gonna be building from, so I'd be more than happy to measure and look at that, but I didn't see that was a concern or variance request.
Because your current height is less than 27 feet or less, so if you're adding, you're
Exactly.
doing that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to consider too, because if the commission, if we recommend approval, and the commission approves it, then are we creating a situation where when you do have this design by an architect, and you have to come, would you then have to come back for a height variance?
If they were over that, if we were over that, yes, they would have come back.
So, have you considered going that route and, you know, getting this designed so that you could get all your variances at once?
Really expensive to get someone to do that first. In fact, 2-3 years ago, we talked with an architect slash engineer who knows both, and he highly encouraged us to do this first, because his cost would be 20% of the renovation, which we're talking $200,000.
But you could, if you got this variance, you know, you could have to come back and you might not get the variance for the height.
Well,
So they just have to
that's
go.
like-
That's something their design professional has to
Yeah.
take into consideration when he's
Yeah.
doing the design, so hopefully it's a
That's-
non-issue.
Within
So I don't also think that's necessarily making it weird.
Right, and we just want you to not think that we're approving that for the.
Oh, no.
All I see.
Oh, here's the way here's the way things work. If the city later determines that they need an additional variance for the project that we saw, then they ask us, they ask me and Sheriff Ventero, and I think he probably talked with Michael Lyman, the commissioner, do you need to see them again? And if any of us say yes, then yes, they have to come back, but it's their risk. The way I look at it, it's their risk. If they're not asking for something, that's entirely on them. And I do have questions about your about your emails of support. Where's Betsy? Betsy Geist? Are you? I see Betsy Clayman.
Oh, yeah, she lives actually,
It's an actual, a new build.
yeah, she actually had,
Where she lives? I sort of write down the.
yeah, I'm gonna,
Going east on the south north side of the street.
Take it out.
I think that it would be.
I would be in, she would be
Towards the end of the
in
packet.
Actually, you know, I've looked at my.
parcels. Answer the question here, 010-084-159 would be the parcel ID.
There you go.
010-084-159, it's the open,
Here's
the
a
one in
little
the
map
very,
with
Okay.
dots.
yeah, the dots were all,
I think that you also sent me, I just need to look for your the labels, it'll be on the mailing labels. Here it is. I can pull all this off the mailing, because if they're close. Okay. Oh, I think you throw a lot. But we can pull this off the mailing labels. Do we have other questions about this application? If I can't figure that out, that helps them exactly.
Oh, yeah.
See a name and know where they were.
yeah, I can provide all that information for that.
I have a question. How did you determine that moving the garage up 20 feet would resolve the safety issue? Like, if you just did 10 feet, would that resolve the safety issue?
We wouldn't be able to put any cars in the facility if we did it 10 feet or any other feet or both.
So, yeah, Betsy is 306, that's out across the street from you. Yeah, Jenny Odette,
Janine's on the other
Yeah,
side.
Jenny's on Canyon Drive, she's on the other side,
she's right behind you.
yeah, yeah.
She's behind the other side, they wrote it down. And I say, I got no negative, nothing back from the mailings that I've sent out. do I have other questions? Okay, well then, do we have a motion to approve? Oh, so, a public comment, these are our next applicants.
Well, they might have a question.
Yeah,
I've been looking at the beautiful house.
Thank you.
Really cool area.
Yeah, it is.
That's okay. I figured they wanted their turn.
Questions from your,
What?
questions from the web?
No, no. I was afraid to mess with this now that I got this started, because this is what, this phone connects.
Can you do live comments? Like,
You can, if you're on, you can on,
If the one person's on there.
although we're not, I'm not sure, I honestly, I'd have to ask the city attorney is really picky about people participating. Okay.
Yeah.
We have comment, no comment, is there any other questions, we've got a motion on the, someone put a motion to approve on the floor. Second,
I'll second.
okay, then, we have comments, and then it's on the floor, people do their chance for comments, or we can, comment for that.
I appreciate you reaching out to your neighbors. I think that goes a long way.
I think it would be really helpful to have even concept drawing, understanding how to engage an architect, that can be a cost, but it would still be helpful for us to visualize how this would look in the site with some, these conceptual drawings to visualize to help us answer some of our concerns with the location of it close to the street and the height. If we have something that could be put together by the time we go to the commission, that might be valuable tool.
Yeah, because based on what we're seeing, the concept sounds good, but visualizing what you're actually going to be doing is a whole other ball game, and so, you guys seem nice, but we don't necessarily want to see you back again, but.
No, that's probably. I would be interested in more specific information on the impact on ravine. And I know you would be trying to hire people but they have ways that they can specifically answer questions that I think are pretty important in anything that goes on in those ravines. So, and elevations, I agree, to know exactly what we're talking about height-wise. To know exactly what we're talking about, like vision with glass, those sorts of things. I think just a little premature here for me to feel comfortable.
Okay, well, that's other comments, and, I'll make my comment as we get around to me at the end. Start with Judy.
I vote yes. Approve.
Andrew.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to say no on this one, and I understand that the lot is in a unique place. It's not like asking to go beyond the building setback on this street here where it would just like not look right, okay? This is a unique place, stuff like that. And I get one to have a two-car garage on the last of this two-story addition. I know that you wanna add a garage, totally get it. Don't know why it has to be so tall. You wanna increase your living space, maybe there's several ways to increase your living space. You're already doing that by converting your one-car garage into additional living space. But without the elevation, I just have this huge block in my mind that like, I get the garage, I don't get the two-story. So no.
So I move forward, I still vote yes, but I don't see where it's clearly stating that part of this variance is the full extension of an addition. I'm reading the variance as extending, the buildable space. And therefore, when they actually submit documents for approval, they'll be subject to other requirements. That's why I'm saying we may see it back again, because, and maybe I'm misinterpreting, but we have a couple other layers you guys are gonna have to go through to again, the preparation he talked about is gonna be key for you to have success, but I still vote yes.
I would vote yes. I agree with it in concept. I share the similar concerns with the other committee members about height. I think elevations would be very helpful. And I do agree. I think you guys get back for some additional variances just looking at this. So.
I'm gonna vote no, because I think we don't have enough information. When I don't have enough information, I have a hard time walking away and saying, well, it'll work out. It probably will. And I think your parts are in the right place, and I think what you're trying to do is certainly interesting. I am concerned about the ravine, about how we protect the ravine. I'm concerned about the lack of elevations. And that's really the gist of it. Again, I don't know, elevations will tell us a lot more, but to me, I need to have that before I can vote yes, so no.
I'll vote yes as well. I think this is pretty much, this is what they designed variances for oddball lots like this. And I don't want to put a requirement on them that the city doesn't require for a yes vote. But so that the vote is, so tallied 5-2. Andrew, you voted no, is that correct?
I voted yes.
You voted yes?
I voted yes.
But
I voted.
you voted no. Oh, you voted no. Okay, I want to make sure that. Okay, I'll make sure I got that. 5-2. Then the recommendation of approval goes to the commission. You'll go before the full commission at 7 p.m. at the Whetstone. I already finished you. No, I couldn't. I scribbled a bit, but that's okay.
Yes.
The one that has blue scribbles. And you'll give him a PDF of that so you can see. And if you could, one thing I could ask, if you could get the specific addresses, just get a list of the addresses to show the commission of people who sent you that.
To attach those.
Okay. Not a problem.
Or visual, just a visual of the map around your house. Look at these are all the people. Look wise.
It's there.
It is. It's in that. Then it's in. Then start with that.
Oh, start with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
or we'll
Okay.
time.
Okay.
So when you look at this, it actually has the lot numbers, but not the actual addresses on the
Right.
side. So that's clarify on the other side. But it
Okay.
Especially if they're next door.
Yeah.
Don't do the next doors, that's really important information.
Well,
Okay, I'll make sure.
thank you for.
I like it.
Thank you, and I will present this to the commission next week.
Okay.
And it's similar process but shorter.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Have a good evening. These chairs are warm for you. Yep, see ya.
Next one on the agenda, moving ahead, is BZA 22-113-3100 North High. In order to facilitate a lot split, the owner asked to reduce the width of the shared drive aisle from 20 feet to 9 feet and to reduce the maneuvering area for parking spaces from 20 feet to 10 feet. And as I understand it, they do not plan to make any changes. This is for a refinancing purposes to satisfy that. It's the three of you get to sign, just identify yourself.
Quickly by way of introduction, Courtney Lewis and Ralph Lewis, owners of Balance Family Academy of Clintonville. We were here, gosh, in 19, and what a whirlwind of the last couple of years it's been. So obviously you guys know 3100, we opened January 2020 with 74 kids. We are now at 174 enrolled. And it's incredible. And the need was just, as of we started probably May of 21, the need was still there. So we ended up doing a small infant and toddler building that opens now. It's on our property. It was all part of the South Wickwood, parcels that they had there. We open on Monday. We're opening with 3 classrooms of infants and toddlers, growing to a full 5 by January. So now why are we here? So we own it's all one parcel right now. We did that because of the building. When we went to build the property, it's all kind of one lot. And to make like parking and how we were gonna do it, we combined them. Well, as everyone knows, interest rates are going up. When we got our loan for the first building, it's an SBA loan, so a small business loan, and it has to be a floating rate. And at the end of the 3 years, you can refinance, we're there. However, now we have this other building, and so for us to be able to refinance the main loan, we have to split the parcels again. And it was literally, we just like finished all this, and now Jack's back with us again. Clearly we're just opening it. We have no intention to ever do anything besides have both of these schools here. But for financing purposes, our bank will not allow us to refinance our large loan unless it's 2 separate parcels. So that's why we're here. And yeah, so the variance is.
And we looked at how could we do it without getting variances, and we drew lines all over the place. And finally, we came up with what is shown on the second sheet. The yellow is the lot that will include the new building, and we wanted to make sure that we provided adequate parking on each lot, so we didn't need a parking variance. So each lot is parked according to code. So when we drew the lines, as you can see where the little peach-looking, pink-looking areas are, around the back of the new building, you can see it's 9.4 feet. If you go front towards High Street, it's 9.9 feet. So that's why we reduced the normal drive aisle is supposed to be 20 feet. So we had to reduce it down to 9. Now, nobody in the world will even know that it's there. Only way you'll know that is if you go to the auditor's website and you see the layout of the lot. And then the maneuvering area, you're supposed to be able to maneuver 20 feet back from your parking space. And if you look, what is it, where the little triangle is and the cross hatching on it, it shows a 10'2", so we're short 10 feet in terms of those parking spaces that face towards the larger building. They'll actually have to back across the lot next door, again, in the auditor's world. So that's it in a nutshell. Nobody will see any changes based on the buildings themselves. It's just simply an ownership of a lot layout that requires us to get these variances. And because they're the same ownership, they don't need easements. So it's a very, I mean, we hate having to go through the process, but it was the only way we could solve this problem for them to get their loan refinanced. And that's it. We need everything else.
Good questions from the committee.
So does, the fact that maneuvering space being reduced mean that if you were to sell a property, that you would automatically have to give an easement?
Yes.
So.
Yes. But just so you understand, in the state of Ohio, you can't grant yourself an easement. It's a nullity. So, you know, yes, if they were to sell to somebody different, they would have to give them an easement.
So there would be 2 people.
Yeah.
I wish I could be sometimes. A lot more done.
Let's see a question for you.
There was this part in the city about landscaping.
Yeah.
What was that
I am
all
so
about?
glad you asked.
Good, you're ready.
So honestly, there was an island, in the original drawings that we had to remove for parking, and more so because the way the water would come in, it would cause a puddle. So you have a bunch of little kids getting out in the winter, and it wasn't safe, one, so we wanted to, when we had to redo the whole parking lot anyway. So we removed that so we could add a spot, so we also could get the draining to go. And then what we have done, because we have a naturalist on, like, who comes every Friday, Mr. Jared's nature class, teaches all of our preschool. So he has built a garden in the back that's all edible plants. And then we have the pocket prairie. So sometimes to the untrained eye, it might look like weeds up front where you see at the front of the school. That's one pocket prairie. And then right outside of one of our other we have another pocket prairie, and we eventually added another tree to the property lines, or to the property to the front. And then if you look at our new building, we've added all new native plants there as well.
And what is the thing about water needed for an easement for one of the parcels? They wrote something about that
Oh, I did see that in the
in the cities.
Yeah.
Like it was a technical
It
issue
did
with
look
the
technical,
water
but I don't
access.
understand it.
There's only currently one water access for the parcel. They would need to add and pay for a water connection for the second parcel once it's split. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Thank you.
But that would have to happen at your expense.
Yeah, if
we were to sell
if
it,
we were to
right?
actually sell it off.
Right.
But since it's all under one ownership, I don't, that's a good question.
I thought it was a technical thing with the city that they cannot service two legal parcels with one water connection. You needed to have a secondary, each parcel must have its own sewer and water connection, is what I thought I understood from that comment, but.
The only thing
Double check into that.
I would wonder though, because we had to put a water tap and sewer tap when we did the renovations for the new school off the back, so it was Walhalla. And then we did one on the front on California for this building, so I wonder.
But that was that the sewer line taps, or was that water?
Water on both of because there's a nice tap fee that I realized when we were doing it on both of them. So that's the only reason I know, like very vividly remember. I know this one because we just did it, but I also remember we had to do it for the 3100.
But I believe that's pretty much outside of the scope of us granting this. That would just be a fee they would have to pay.
Right.
The city
Correct.
and be outside of our scope. I do have one question. You were mentioning that crosshatch area there on the 10'2" clearance to the parcel line. What's the clearance to the building line there? That looks like it, because it looks like that varies from 9'4" to 12'4" on the other side, and that might put you within the 20-foot maneuvering radius backing out of that parking spot. Is that a fair assessment?
The 10-foot goes from the rear of that parking space to the new lot line. So that's where we're getting the maneuvering, and that also includes part of the drive aisle too.
My question on top of that was, yes, I understand that 10'2" is to the parcel line. What's the distance from that parcel line to the building that's shown there towards California?
Well, I'm assuming that it shows at the rear, but it's not exactly, when he drew the arrows, it was to the curb. So you got a 9.4 drive aisle to the curb.
It doesn't quite get us to 20, but I see it's 12'4" indicated on the
On the other
building.
side.
So I just wonder what
So-
the maneuvering distance out of that would be.
So what I think what the city would do is to say that you've got more than enough area as you come around California to maneuver when you come into that aisle area. So once you pass the 9.4 and you've got that entire area, and I'll check to make sure that where the 10'2" goes up directly north towards the middle of the building to make sure that there is a 20-foot gap there. I'll do that.
Because if you interpolate that dimension at the edge of that parking spot is roughly halfway between, if you had a 12-4 and a 9-4, the dimension halfway in between would be 11, 10-8, 10-8 and 10-2 would be 20 and 10. But checking it out.
That'll be my first call.
The whole reason for that crosshatch section and that's such an awkward parking spot there now, we wanted it to be parallel to the rest of the spots, but that's where that became a problem, is if we put that spot parallel, it would have been encroached on that maneuverability. I remember having a conversation with the engineer, but
You swing around.
so it's a very awkward parking space there, but it is what it is.
Many parents ask us about that parking spot now that it's all restriped.
That's all I would say.
Thank you again for saving our most historic.
And again, that's,
It's a fabulous reuse, and it's so encouraging to hear how successful
Well, thank
you
you.
are.
We are-
You know, you met a need.
We feel incredibly
Yeah.
lucky to be able to be in that building and to carry it on, and it means so much to the community. And honestly, the community, starting this business in January 2020,
Right.
and then COVID, I couldn't have asked for a better community to be a business member in, and families supported us through every decision we had to make, and it's been incredible. So
I love it. I just like the juxtaposition
Oh.
of driving by what was once this and now you see the children out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Those are fun good.
It is fun, and the being on Walhalla is just incredible, right? So our summer camp would go to Walhalla and Como Park, like everything we could walk around with. And it's just we obviously, as Rob said, he said it perfectly. Love Clintonville, love our community, and are really lucky. Even owning an old building is not always easy, as we had to pipe this week first. But it's definitely worth it, and it is truly special when you do the walk through the halls and see all the kids. So we graduated 29 kids to go to kindergarten this year, which has been really, I like get sad when they leave, but I'm like, I get that this is part of it, but they're at Clinton and Indianola and IC, so we get to see them all still. So.
Out of curiosity, where kindergarten is, any of them support Monarchs?
oh
Yeah.
That's it.
Absolutely. So if you met Mr. Jared, he is
He now has a YouTube series, so he's
does.
he's the BFA naturalist, and he's a great guy. He does pocket prairies on his own property, and it's all about monarchs and native grasshoppers and all kinds. I mean, just since he's put those in, we take kids out to look at them, and I've taken videos for social media, and they're just teeming with birds and butterflies. And
takes them on little nature walks. So even our toddlers, like our older toddlers, go on little walks with 5. It's cute. It's really. I encourage you guys to stop by and see it. We've had a couple visitors come from, but please do. It's fun to see the school in action.
So let's have the comments. Do you want to call to a vote? Anyone object to calling it to a vote? Okay. Oh, do I need to have a motion on the floor? So motion. Do a second.
I'll second.
Start with this time of day.
Yes.
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 That's recommended 7-0 yes. And by the way, just for the record, I did get 2 comments, 2 questions come in, and one person didn't. Once I told both of them that there was no changes planned, one of them didn't respond, and the other one said they were dead neutral.
I think the new, the zoning signs now, a lot of questions, lots of neighbors stop by to ask. which I don't think we had to do that. for the
No,
first
this is
building.
brand new.
Okay, yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. it's brand new.
No, it definitely is.
But I know it's a little
got
bit
a lot
more.
of,
When you're not
Sunday?
really doing anything,
Big
everybody's like, now
Right,
what are you doing?
or when
Are we
you're
done?
working on Sunday
Do you have
and
a
people
motion
are
to
looking in the
adjourn?
windows, I was like, oh gosh.
Right.